Hey, my name is Mohan, I'm the CEO of Nara.
My name is Luca, and I'm the CEO of Nara.
Luca, over the past couple of videos, we've gone through the AI fundamentals, slowly gone into more agentic concepts. And in today's video, we're going to cover AI frameworks. So for the audience to get an easy introduction into what AI frameworks are, let's start with an analogy and take it from there.
For sure. So an analogy that we like to give is that every good restaurant has a really good chef, but also a fully stocked kitchen. In a kitchen, you have your refrigerators, your ovens, and all the other tools that come along with a kitchen. In this case, when we are building an AI agent, which is essentially like a dish in this analogy, it's obviously important to have a really good chef, which is the model, the intelligence behind how to actually produce a dish in this case. But you have to have a really good oven, and you have to have a really good refrigerator to be able to execute the work. And so instead of building your own refrigerator and building your own oven, you essentially buy a refrigerator and an oven that works. And you don't really bother yourselves with the intricacies of how exactly an oven works or how exactly a refrigerator works. We'll get into more details exactly, but I want to give you a very quick idea of some of the biggest players in the space. The first sort of AI framework that came up was LangChain. Really good up until today. There is a learning curve as a developer on how to learn LangChain and then how to build AI agents, but it's a very good general purpose agent builder, you could say. LangChain has a bunch of little assets that you can pull from if you need that certain type of functionality for your agent. Other ones, as well as by the Llama family, is the Llama Index. That's really good if you're looking to do anything that is search related, or if your agent has a lot of search related tasks that it needs to do. Really good to use some of their assets. And then there's others, lesser known ones, like Crew AI and AutoGen. And some of the really big model companies like OpenAI and Anthropic, they have their own AI frameworks that they've used to actually build their own agents like Claude Code, which you can essentially use them. If we look here in a little bit more detail on what exactly those pre-built tools are, you can see, and I mentioned already, the ability to actually connect to a model. Or for example, the ability to route to a different model for a different use case, or perhaps when a model is down. So as we might know, sometimes Anthropic and all these other bigger model companies, sometimes their models experience performance degradation. The latency is increased, the model is not providing as good of an answer. Sometimes we need to quickly shift over to another model without the end user actually knowing that now we're operating on a different model. Another example is managing a conversation. So you could use an agent for 5 minutes continuously, step out for an hour. The agent is not essentially going to be running, waiting for you every minute and every second to reply. It'll essentially sort of cool down, waiting for you to come back. That sort of engineering plumbing work is all done by these libraries. Another one is handling tools. We spoke about MCPs, CLIs, and APIs, and all of those functionalities bring a lot of errors, and error handling is one of the biggest things that is being provided by these frameworks.
Now that we're covering more complex topics, it's always important to take a step back and actually bring the topic back to how it affects the day-to-day business owner. So why should a, say, non-technical operator even concern themselves with an AI framework?
Well, essentially, they don't need to. It's not really a decision on the buy side of the process. You're not buying a specific agent because they're built on a certain framework. You're not even using an agent because they're built on a certain framework. Most of the times you don't even know. However, if you're looking to build this in-house, that's when you should concern yourself. It's really a developer question. So what are my developers familiar with? What functionality do I need, and what are the limitations of some of these frameworks? So say, for example, my team is well versed on Crew AI. Well, we should just use Crew AI because it covers essentially 90% of the same frameworks. Now, another very important thing is that sometimes, on very rare occasions, and this is why planning is important, the frameworks can be very opinionated, and that will actually shape how the agents are built. So if you need a very quick agent with not a lot of overhead, you might choose something else rather than LangChain. However, on the other end, if you are building a multi-purpose agent, then you would go with LangChain because it's probably one of the most profound frameworks out there. It's also the one that most engineers know and are very comfortable with. That's also another thing. You don't want to jump on the latest framework because many of the times the companies behind those frameworks typically doing it for free, or like a lot of stuff in software, open sourcing the frameworks. And so you don't want to be behind a project that might get, discontinued or depreciated. So that's essentially why a business operator would need to know about frameworks and why they would even concern themselves.
So that's just really been a brief coverage of what AI frameworks are. And as you mentioned, it's not really something an operator is going to concern themselves with on the front end, but rather something a developer is going to wrestle with on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important to understand how much work goes into actually building these agents, even at the most basic level. Even at the level of the agents knowing how to reply and how to use a model and all the use cases which we talked about. And so that's really just to show what the plumbing looks like.
Yeah, and guys, if you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, you can subscribe to our newsletter. The link's down in the description below. You can also find us on LinkedIn. We're very active on a day-to-day basis. And until next time, we'll see you in the next video.